Hello and welcome back to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you guys. We appreciate you guys watching this because, well, we are underway. Copa America has officially started, and for the USMNT as well. We did our job. We're going to be diving into the performance and straight to the point, Braden. After a 2-0 win against Bolivia, what are your immediate thoughts after that performance?
So my initial reaction is it wasn't perfect, but we did get the job done. I think we both predicted a game similar to this, at least in terms of scoreline. It was sloppy at times, we'll say, a little uninspiring at times, but there were a lot of, at least enough critical moments. And we capitalized on enough of those going up 2-0 just before halftime that in the second half, we'll get into a deeper analysis on each half, but there wasn't really much to do left in the second half. We had the job done. I would have liked to see a little bit more intensity, maybe, but we did create some chances as well in that half anyway. So I thought it was an overall solid game. We did what we needed to do against a very inferior opponent. In my opinion, I think there's a strong argument that Bolivia are the worst team, not only in the group, but in the entire Copa America. So it is what it is, a 2-0 win. There's nothing to really get too excited about, but there's also nothing to get too critical about. But that's just my initial thoughts.
Yeah, my immediate thoughts after watching that is they were that, like I said before the tournament, Bolivia are extremely shockingly bad. Pulisic's goal, I think it debunks the entire bunkering idea that they would have for the game, and Pulisic's on the level of his own in these types of games, and I think he'll be a difference maker when we do play countries that are inferior, which won't really happen in the tournament because of the bracket that we're in. But now diving into that first half, the game barely started. If you were one of the fans that got into the stadium a little late, which I saw, and props to Dallas as well. I know that they had some price cuts for the opener, so I'm happy that everyone got to deal with that. But some of them did get inside the stadium a little late, and they probably would have missed the opener. So on that first half, Braden, the most notorious things that happened in your opinion?
Starting off, like you said, with the goal, and I think, you said it already, Pulisic scoring inside 3 minutes completely derailed Bolivia's game plan. I said it in the preview, what they were probably going to do, and I wasn't surprised. 5-3-2 formation. They were set up to have 8 men behind the ball at all times, bunker, not let us get any clear-cut opportunities, and essentially play for a draw, because I think if they came out of that match with a draw, they'd be pretty confident with their ability to at least push for making it out of the groups. But having an early goal conceded and a wonder goal, absolute beauty from Pulisic, just a world-class finish, and there's nothing you can do about that from a goalkeeper's perspective, defender's perspective. Goalkeeper even got a little bit of a touch on it, but still went in off the bar and in, absolute worldy, and it completely derailed their entire plan, which I thought was very necessary, because I think if we didn't get an early goal, it would have proven very costly, because we've seen how much trouble we've had breaking down low blocks in the past. I think if we didn't get a goal in the first 5-10 minutes of the game, it was looking very likely that perhaps it could have gone 60 or 70 without a goal. But thankfully we did get that, and Bolivia were forced to maybe try to attack a little bit more, because getting out of here with a loss doesn't do anything for them. And overall, I really think there weren't too many chances. There was a couple opportunities from Weah in particular that he kind of shot with a bad angle instead of maybe trying to pull it across, but we got into the right opportunities. And then to close out the half, beautiful finish from Fowler and Balogun after getting laid off by Pulisic. Gio Reyna starting that play with the incisive through ball to Pulisic. It's something I would have liked to see a little bit more from Reyna. I thought he had a decent game, but nothing fantastic. He's still getting played a little too low on the pitch. He needs to be a little bit higher up playing as a true 10, but realistically, I don't know if we're going to see that happen with Greg, but he did what he does best in that situation. Playing Pulisic, finds Balogun, and a really good finish. I think it might be the best finish I've seen from Balogun in a USMNT shirt, in terms of he gets the ball on his left foot and places it perfectly through the defender's legs and just past outstretched hands of the keeper, put us up 2-0 at halftime, despite not having the most chances. I think we had maybe 3 or 4 clear-cut chances, converting 2 of those, a pretty good rate, especially considering the quality of the goals. So good first half, nothing to complain about, really.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that again, that goal really opened up the doors, made the game a little bit more open. That second goal wouldn't have happened if the first one didn't happen because, as we saw on the replay, they were pretty open. These are the type of situations that Balogun thrives off. A good ball from Pulisic, great timing to give the pass. They don't hold on to it for too long, and these balls, especially that they allow Balogun to have and take on the momentum, drive with the ball instead of having to track it back. It was a perfect angle for him to get, almost like a triangle on FIFA, if I want to put into an analogy, and it was a good finish for him. Props to him. I think that will do him a world of confidence. I think he was a little bit sloppy in the beginning of the match, and getting that goal coming off the season that he had, maybe now he will have the safety net that we want him to have around the national team and do well for the remaining games in the competition. That brings us to the second half, where a lot of people were critical of the intensity. I understand it personally, but what do you think, Braden? Do you think that there's too much to criticize right here? Your thoughts on the second half?
I really don't think there's that much that you can criticize. I would have obviously loved to see the boys go out with the same intensity that we had coming out of the gates and try to bury them completely 4-0, 5-0. But if you look at the chances we had, it could have been that scoreline. Pepe had 4 chances that he got into good opportunities and got good shots away. I think 2 of those in particular that he really should have scored. One coming in, and I think it was actually his first touch of the game, comes in and he just mishits it and it goes wide. And then the other one, the ball comes into him. He hits it straight at the keeper. The rebound comes straight to him. He hits it again. Incredible double save from the keeper. Huge props to Bolivia's goalkeeper, Vizcarra, because I thought he kept them in the game with some incredible saves, including that double one on Pepe. But realistically, with the 4 chances he had, he probably should have scored at least 2 goals. And that is a slight cause for concern heading into the later stages of the tournament, because when we come up against teams that are realistically better than us, playing better than us, they have just better players and a better sense of team unity and tactics and all of that, we're going to need to take chances like that, because I mean, we saw it against Brazil. We had so many less chances than them. In that match, Turner bailed us out. I don't think that's going to be the case in future games. Just as much as Turner was great that game, he hasn't been like that recently for the U.S. So against better opponents, we're going to need to take opportunities like that. But it didn't cost us here. I mean, it's Bolivia. They didn't really have any clear-cut chances of their own. Turner kind of really had nothing to do except for a couple of long shots that went right to him. I thought the intensity was kind of there. I mean, it wasn't the same as the first half, but we did create some chances still. Jedi in particular was absolutely excellent the entire game, but especially in the second half, creating opportunities for Pepe, just combining with Pulisic on the left-hand side, getting down the line, beat his defender for pace every single time, crossed into the byline, and it really should have ended in a couple more goals, but it is what it is. 2-0 scoreline, solid result.
Yeah, definitely. I saw some people criticizing on that, but I think they're just reading into the scoreline, and scoreline stats. They tell the whole thing, but they don't really tell the most important, which is the eye test. I think that we had the volume to make it 4-0. It should have been that. And I've been very supportive of Pepe in the past, still very supportive of him, but he really should have scored 2, at least 2 tonight. So that brings us to perhaps, let's try not to be harsh. I mean, it's a good start. I think it was a very competent performance, professional, but we do have to point out the standouts and the guys that disappointed. What are the players that stuck out for better or for worse tonight for you, Braden?
I mean, how can we not start with Captain America, Christian Pulisic, my man of the match, everyone's man of the match, getting the beautiful goal and completely changing the whole complexity of the game inside 3 minutes, and then a perfect assist to Florian Balogun. And even outside of that, I thought he was always constantly threatening. Like I said, combining with Jedi Robinson, who if I had to pick a second best player, I would pick Jedi. Always combining down the left-hand side, creating opportunities into the middle for the strikers and even some of the wingers and midfielders as well. I thought they were both absolutely incredible down the left-hand side. Can they do it against slightly better fullbacks? Hopefully they can. But I mean, I think they're 2 of our best players on quality, so I have no doubts about them. I thought Balogun was a little sloppy at times, but at the end of the day, he got his goal, and it was a very well taken goal, the type of goal that he loves to score, like you said, in transition, hitting them from the counter attack, which is something, again, you said if Pulisic hadn't scored that first goal, we don't know if that chance happens, but we took up the opportunity, and that's what you have to do as a striker. Even if you have a poor game outside of that, if you get the goal and it's a good goal, people will forget about all the other mistakes you made. And not to say Balogun really made any mistakes necessarily, but I thought it wasn't necessarily his best all around game, but he got the goal, and that's all that matters. So good performance from him. Tim Weah was pretty solid as always on the right hand side, just doing his thing, getting up and down, beating his defender. Got the assist as well to Pulisic, but I mean, realistically, that was all Pulisic's goal. Reyna was okay. He was solid, but I would have liked to see him utilize it a little bit more in the attack. And then on to the negatives, because I think those are the main standouts in a positive light. The negatives for me, I'll start with the biggest one, and I mean biggest literally as well. Weston McKennie looked a little bit overweight. I think you can't really deny that. He's looking a little bit of like a shadow of his Leeds days, and that is absolutely not what you want to see. And it affected his performance as well. It seemed like he lost every 50-50 duel. Just even the Bolivians were one step ahead of him to the ball, which is very concerning. You don't want to lose that step, especially as a box-to-box midfielder. Picked up a yellow card because of it as well. And overall, I think he was the worst player on the pitch for us, which is not something you want to see from a player who, if you look at club form from the past season, I think we can all agree that he was top 2, top 3. So it's not something that you want to see when it doesn't translate to the national team, and especially since he's had so many problems with his fitness in the past in terms of his weight. Going back to a little bit of the overweight McKennie that we grew to fear a little bit towards the end of last season, it's not a good sign, especially coming into a major international tournament. And the only other real negative that I had, besides Pepe not being clinical, but he got himself into those chances, which is something you have to say. Balogun didn't get him into as many chances as Pepe did. So the fact that he's getting into those situations is good. He just needs to finish them against a higher level opponent. I think the center backs were not great in terms of their distribution. And Richards in particular had a couple that were head-scratching passes, and against a better opponent like we saw against Colombia, if we try to play out of the back like that and we don't have the center backs to do that, they're going to hit us and they're going to take advantage of it every time. I mean, we saw it, especially the second half against Colombia. They just sat back, waited for us to make a mistake. It usually came as we were trying to build out of the back, and they hit us with no mercy, 5-1. And if we continue to operate like this against good opponents, we're going to get burned just like we did in that friendly. So I think at times they just need to go full no nonsense, route one football, clear it up the pitch, especially when you're up 2-0. There's no point trying to force anything and make a silly mistake at the back that could easily turn to 2-1. And then you have a game, you're on the back foot, and who knows what happens at that point. So those were the only negatives I saw. Not too many overall. Like I said, I think it was a solid performance. Nothing too inspiring. Nothing that you could say from this performance, oh yeah, we're the favorites for the tournament. But also nothing to say, oh yeah, we're screwed, we're getting knocked out in.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think that with the positives for me, I'll be honest with what I see from Bolivia. The only huge positives here are Pulisic and Jedi. I think that they were the only two that I can say, oh, they had a good game, because everyone else, come on, it's quite easy to play against Bolivia. We've seen it with their retrospect. They haven't been doing good. But Pulisic, I think that I'll highlight it because, yeah, you can only beat what's in front of you. But just to carry this momentum that he's in now with a goal and an assist, yeah, it's against Bolivia, but the quality of the goal, I mean, that type of goal goes in against any country, as we've seen him do it time and time again. So I'll highlight him. And Jedi, I thought that he was very energetic and good on the ball. Granted, he had a little bit more time than usual, but I thought that he did well. And this should build up some confidence, because I don't think that Jedi really had the best of friendlies. So I'm going to highlight this. I think it's a comeback, step back into form, hopefully propels him to a good tournament. On the negatives, as you said, I think Richards, aside from the distribution, was doing good, but the distribution was really sus. I mean, if we go into games against tougher opponents, as you said, it'll be very tough. And I think that we need to figure out another way to play. If we want to play out of the back, just hump it long or pass it to your fullback, back to Turner and kick it long. I mean, we have to figure out something else. And I will say Ream did look a little slow as well. I think that it didn't really cost. I think he only got dribble past once, but still not the sharpest, not really what you want to see going forward. I'm maybe nitpicking right here. And then there's the obvious one, McKennie. looking, I will say he's typically immense in the way that he plays. He was immense physically. I think that for a guy that has been vocal about his some issues with weight loss, weight gain, I think that honestly, I believe him when he says that he puts in all the right work. I don't know if there's any condition that may be hampering his performances in terms of the weight gain, but you can see that he looks a little bit heavier. The foul, I mean, that's a completely avoidable yellow card, and it's all due, you can pinpoint it to sharpness, just the physicality. And coming off the great season that he had with club, I don't think we were all expecting this, but hey, it is what we got. Hopefully he does better in the future matches, and props to him for having a good moment with his friends and family in the stadium as well. That's nice to see, especially after that interview with The Athletic where he said that he has faced some downs. For him to have that high at home. Now, moving on forward, we have this result to back us up, 2-0 against Bolivia. But on the other side of the group, Uruguay beat Panama 3-1, so a 2-goal difference there. I saw some people saying we should have mounted goal difference here in this game, but it's not like Uruguay did too much against Panama. They made it very tough as well. Props to Panama. So after this first match week has gone by, what do you think, Braden? Do you think that this propels us to, how does it set us up for the games against Panama and Uruguay, and any things that you think that we haven't mentioned already yet that need to be pinpointed and corrected?
Yeah, well, looking back at the Uruguay game, and especially Panama getting that late consolation goal, it makes me wish a little bit more that Pepe had finished a couple of the chances to give us a little bit of a step ahead in the goal difference race, but it's now all to play for. We'll play Panama on match day 2. Uruguay will play Bolivia. It's now CONCACAF versus CONCACAF, CONMEBOL versus CONMEBOL. Whoever wins by more will have the advantage going into final day, which could prove critical. It'll mean one team only needs to play for a draw, and who knows, I think that could be a likely result depending on the team that wants it. But yeah, I think I've kind of pinpointed this already. It doesn't mean much, the game against Bolivia. It's a nice result. It's always nice to get a clean sheet no matter who the opponent and convert on a couple of chances, but there are some key things that we do need to do differently if we're going to play against higher quality opponents, such as in the knockout rounds. We can't play out of the back every time, especially when it's not working, with the center backs having poor distribution, and we've seen Turner have this problem so many times as well. It just hit it long, especially if we're playing against a team that likes to possess. Just hit it long, let them have the ball, and hit them on the counter, because we know Balogun, that's how he thrives. That's how he scored his goal today. If we can get into those situations with Jedi, Pulisic, Weah, Balo, Reyna, I back our chances to convert a couple. And Pepe as well, you just need to finish those chances. I still think he's the perfect super sub to come off the bench against tired legs. His activeness, just get into all of the right chances, all the right opportunities. You just need to be a little bit more clinical. It is what it is. I do think we'll have an easier time against Panama. We'll have a preview obviously before that game, but since they do traditionally like to play a little bit more open than Bolivia does, hopefully we can capitalize on that a little bit more, hit them on the counterattack, and it'll really be a test, because if we can hit them on the counterattack, that'll be a good indication, or at least a little bit of an indication on how we can play against the tougher opponents. But ultimately, we all know the game that matters in the group stage. It's USA versus Uruguay in Kansas City on July 1st. So we're all looking forward to that one. But as to how this result affects us going forward, not much, to be honest.
I completely agree. I think that if we look at it objectively, everyone can have this thought. It all comes down to the last match day. That's what it is for this group. I mean, in theory, we beat Panama, we beat Bolivia, and Uruguay does the same. So whoever comes out on top on that game, and I don't think that it's in Uruguay's DNA to play for a draw, really. So hopefully it's a good game, and I think we try to milk a little bit of the analysis with how this sets us up forward, but now we're curious to see what you guys think. Do you guys think that it was a good enough showing? Are you excited? Are you jumping on a hype train? Or do you think that ultimately it was just a very minimal result against a very, very poor side? So I've seen both sides on the internet, on the social media. So let us know here in the comments below what you thought of the game, where you stand. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and stay tuned as we will be streaming the next match as well. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.